At an open house, they mistook my realtor for my wife. She smiled and said, "Not yet." Some moments don't just stop time, they quietly rewrite the rest of your life. The stranger barely glanced up from the guest book before smiling warmly and saying, "You two make such a beautiful married couple. Congratulations on finding your dream home." I opened my mouth to correct her. But before I could speak, my realtor simply smiled, looked at me with a softness I had never noticed before, and replied, "Not yet." 3 simple words. 3 words that echoed louder than every heartbreak I had spent years trying to bury. Before we begin, if you believe that kindness can heal even the deepest wounds, and that everyone deserves a second chance at happiness, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more heartfelt stories like this to people around the world. 3 years earlier, I had stood in a courtroom watching the life I thought I had built disappear one signature at a time. Divorce doesn't always explode like a storm. Sometimes it fades away like sunlight leaving a room, slowly enough that you don't notice the darkness until you're already standing in it. My marriage hadn't ended because of betrayal or dramatic fights. It had ended because somewhere between careers, responsibilities, and exhaustion, we had forgotten how to choose each other every single day. By the time we realized what we had lost, there wasn't enough left to save. After the divorce, I sold the house because every hallway echoed with memories that no longer belonged to anyone. I rented a small apartment overlooking a parking lot where nothing ever changed. Every evening looked exactly like the one before. Work. Dinner alone. Television playing only to fill the silence. Sleep. Repeat. Friends tried to help, but eventually invitations became less frequent. People move on with their own lives. That's what they're supposed to do. Meanwhile, I convinced myself that loneliness was simply the price adults paid for failed dreams. Then my landlord announced he was selling the building. I suddenly needed to buy a house. The timing couldn't have felt worse. That was how I met Emma. She wasn't what I expected from a realtor. She didn't speak in rehearsed sales pitches or pressure me into decisions. Instead, she asked questions nobody else had asked. What kind of mornings do you want? Where do you imagine drinking your coffee? What kind of neighborhood makes you feel safe? Which room do you think you'll spend the most time in? At first, I laughed awkwardly. I thought she wanted information to narrow the search. Later I realized she wasn't searching for a house. She was searching for my future. Every Saturday we toured homes together. Some were enormous but empty. Some were beautiful but never felt alive. Others had every feature on my list, yet somehow left me feeling absolutely nothing. Emma never rushed me. When I apologized for being indecisive, she smiled and reminded me that people weren't buying walls and roofs. They were choosing where life would happen next. That sentence stayed with me for weeks. Slowly, our conversations drifted beyond square footage and mortgage rates. She learned that I collected old vinyl records. I learned she volunteered every Sunday at an animal rescue shelter. She admitted she couldn't cook anything more complicated than pasta. I confessed I had once burned instant oatmeal. She laughed so hard she nearly dropped her coffee. For the first time in years, someone made my ordinary stories feel worth listening to. Still, I never allowed myself to think beyond friendship. She was kind to everyone. That was simply who she was. One rainy afternoon we toured an old Victorian home that had been sitting on the market for months. The floors creaked. The paint peeled from the windows. The backyard looked more like a forest than a garden. Most buyers would have walked away immediately. Emma stood in the middle of the empty living room with sunlight pouring through stained glass windows and quietly said that this house reminded her of people. It had scars everyone noticed first, but underneath those scars was something extraordinary waiting for someone patient enough to see it. I wasn't sure whether she was talking about the house. Or me. Life has a strange way of placing mirrors in front of us when we're finally ready to look. Over the next several weeks, I found myself looking forward to home tours more than I wanted to admit. Not because I expected to find the perfect property, but because those afternoons reminded me what genuine human connection felt like. She never judged my hesitation. Never mocked my fears. Never treated my divorce as baggage. Instead, she listened. Really listened. In a world where everyone seemed eager to speak, Emma made silence feel comfortable. Then came the open house that changed everything. The home sat on a quiet tree-lined street where children rode bicycles and neighbors actually waved at each other. White hydrangeas framed the front porch. Sunlight spilled through oversized windows, warming every room. For the first time, I could imagine growing older somewhere. Inside, families wandered from room to room imagining furniture placements and holiday dinners. Emma handed me a brochure while pointing out the renovated kitchen. I barely heard her. I wasn't looking at cabinets. I was imagining laughter. As we entered the dining room, an elderly volunteer greeted us with the brightest smile. Without hesitation, she congratulated us on our marriage and said we looked perfect together. I immediately felt embarrassed. I started explaining that Emma was actually my realtor. But Emma gently interrupted. She smiled. Looked directly into my eyes. And softly answered, "Not yet." The volunteer laughed warmly before moving on to greet another family. Emma continued walking as though nothing unusual had happened. Meanwhile, my heart had completely forgotten how to beat normally. For several minutes neither of us mentioned it. I couldn't. Every possible interpretation raced through my mind. Had she been joking? Being polite? Or had those words carried a meaning she wasn't ready to explain? After the tour ended, rain began falling unexpectedly. We stood together beneath the porch roof waiting for the storm to pass. The silence between us felt different now. Not uncomfortable. Hopeful. Emma eventually admitted she'd been terrified after saying those words. She told me they had escaped before she could stop them. Then she confessed something neither of us expected to hear that afternoon. Somewhere between dozens of home showings, countless cups of coffee, and conversations about ordinary life, she had started looking forward to seeing me more than she should have. She wasn't sure when professionalism had slowly become affection. She only knew that it had. I stared at the rain running down the porch steps. For years I had convinced myself love belonged to another version of my life. Someone younger. Someone less broken. Someone who hadn't failed once already. Emma quietly told me something I'll never forget. Broken hearts don't make people impossible to love. They make them appreciate love differently. Those words dismantled years of shame I had been carrying without realizing it. We didn't rush into a relationship. Real life rarely works that way. Instead, we chose something much smaller. One dinner. Then another. Weekend walks through local parks. Trips to farmers' markets. Movie nights where neither of us paid much attention to the film because conversation was infinitely more interesting. The relationship grew the same way healthy trees grow. Slowly. Quietly. Strongly. Months later, I finally bought that Victorian house everyone else had ignored. The renovations took almost a year. Friends thought I was crazy. Every weekend involved sanding floors, repairing walls, replacing pipes, painting ceilings, and discovering problems hidden beneath decades of neglect. Emma worked beside me almost every Saturday. She wasn't afraid of dust. She wasn't afraid of hard work. Most importantly, she wasn't afraid of building something meaningful instead of searching for something perfect. As the house slowly transformed, something inside me changed too. I stopped introducing myself as a divorced man. I became someone excited about tomorrow again. The empty rooms gradually filled with furniture. Then photographs. Then music. Then laughter. Eventually, the house no longer looked abandoned. Neither did my heart. Exactly 1 year after that unforgettable open house, I invited Emma back under the pretense of showing her the final renovation. The dining room had been completely restored. Original hardwood floors glowed beneath warm lighting. Fresh flowers rested at the center of the table. The stained glass windows reflected afternoon colors across the walls. It looked nothing like the forgotten building we had first walked through. I thanked her for helping me believe that damaged things could become beautiful again. Then I reached into my pocket. Inside was a small velvet box. I reminded her of the elderly volunteer who had mistaken her for my wife. I smiled. Then I asked if she thought it might finally be time to change her answer. She never let me finish the question. Tears filled her eyes before she nodded yes. There are proposals people remember because they're extravagant. There are others remembered because they're honest. Ours happened in a room built by patience, forgiveness, and second chances. It couldn't have been more perfect. 2 years later, that same elderly volunteer unexpectedly attended one of the community events hosted in our neighborhood. She recognized us almost instantly. Before we could say anything, she laughed and asked whether her prediction had finally come true. Emma squeezed my hand, proudly showed her wedding ring, and said, "It finally did." The woman smiled with tears in her eyes. Sometimes complete strangers unknowingly plant seeds that bloom years later. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't searching for a house when I met Emma. I was searching for permission to hope again. The house gave us an address. She gave me a home. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who may need a reminder that life can begin again, and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows these stories of hope and healing to reach more people every single day. Special request, before you leave, please comment with the words, "Second chances are real." We'd love to know where you're watching from and whether you've ever experienced an unexpected moment that changed your life forever. Life rarely announces its greatest blessings with fireworks. More often, they arrive disguised as ordinary days, ordinary conversations, and ordinary people who quietly choose kindness when they could have remained strangers. We spend so much time chasing perfect timing that we forget the heart has its own calendar. Sometimes the love meant for us doesn't arrive when we're young or fearless. Sometimes it comes after disappointment has humbled us, after loss has softened us, and after loneliness has taught us the true value of companionship. And when it does arrive, it doesn't erase the past, it transforms it into the very foundation that makes the future possible.